Okay, welcome to LGLA 1307, our session on March 31st. We have a few things to cover today. The first is any questions or concerns that people might have about the midterm examination. The next is about the jurisdiction lecture that I posted, any questions there might be about that. And then third, information about our quizzes for chapters 5 and 6. So I'm going to get started on that. Let me just give you a little bit of a refresher about the midterm. Some of you have already taken it, which is great. For those of y'all that haven't taken it, you still have plenty of time. So first off, where are we going to find the midterm? You're going to find it in the module directly below chapter 6. And you can see it is right here. One thing that's a little misleading about this is that it says that you have until Sunday, April 5, and you do have until then. But if your internet is like mine lately and tends to go out or tends to be very slow, I strongly encourage you to begin your midterm by Friday, April 3rd. The reason that you want to start by that date is if you have some problem, either your internet, you lose your internet connection, or it's so slow you just can't complete the exam, then you can email me and I will schedule a time where I can proctor the rest of the midterm with you over the weekend. If you wait until the 4th or the 5th and you don't have any internet problems, everything worked out great, awesome, wonderful. That's what I hope will happen. But if you take the test on Saturday or Sunday, you are accepting the risk that your internet may go out or be very slow, and you're not going to have a second chance to complete it. So even though it says April 5th, treat it as if it were April 3rd. This lecture right here appears twice on Canvas. It appears in module with a midterm module. It also appears in this first module. It's the same material, so you don't feel like you have to watch it twice. That lecture is what tells you what the password is to access the midterm. It also gives you some additional information. I want to also alert you to the fact that sometimes what happens with internet is you don't lose your internet connection, but it is just so slow that you can't reasonably. Am I not showing on my desktop? Sorry about that, Catherine. Thank you for letting me know. I should have been sharing my desktop with you. I apologize. Okay, so let me go back and show you. Thank you so much for letting me know. So this is where you will find the midterm, and it is in the midterm examination information. This is where you'll find the lecture. And again, you'll also find the lecture in this first module. Mid-middle. And here we go. So, so that is the information about the midterm. Again, but the takeaways in the event that you showed up a couple minutes late is that the midterm will be available until the 5th, but you should attempt to take it by the 3rd because you may lose your internet. One student has had a difficulty that I wanted to alert you to, and that is she hasn't lost her internet, but it's become very, very slow. And because this is a timed test, if you have a very slow internet, it could interfere with your ability to complete in time. But because you haven't lost your internet connection, then the question is, what do we do under those circumstances? My suggestion would be, let's say you were on question 11, and you can see it's so slow that you're not going to be able to finish. Well, go ahead and hit the submit button, and then send me an email. And then we will schedule a time so that you can complete the remaining questions starting on question 12 with the time that you have left. You don't want to complete the whole test and then say, I ran out of time, because the clock has still been ticking. So you need to be aware of the time if you expect that you may have that problem. Some strategies you may want to adopt to reduce the chances of you having that problem is do it at a time where there is less internet traffic. Or plan for maybe a time on Wednesday or Thursday where it seems like your internet's going pretty well, and then pick that time. That way, if you end up picking, 11 p.m. on Friday night, you can't really pick and choose your times at that point. So in that situation, you would actually submit it after you finish that 11th question. I will be able to see how many minutes you've taken on the first 11 questions, and then I would be able to proctor for the rest of the time that you have remaining, starting with question 12. So are there any questions about, let me go ahead and stop share. Are there any questions about the midterm examination? When to do it, how to do it, what to do if there's something that goes awry? Okay. Well, if you have some continuing questions or you want to talk with me privately about questions, I'll stay a couple of minutes after class is over. And of course, you can come to my office hours or send me an email. So that's our first topic. We can check that off. Our next topic, let me make sure I'm screen sharing so I don't do the same mistake again, because I will if you let me, is let's go to the lectures, and you can see I've posted a lecture called Jurisdiction Lecture. I've posted it in the first module, but I've also posted it in Module 6. You can see it's the bottom item. Before you watch this, go ahead and open up the T-chart for jurisdiction exercises and the jurisdiction sample questions. I use both of these documents a lot during the lecture. In the lecture, I explain the portions of the lecture that are on the midterm and the portions that aren't. So I just want to alert you to that fact. You don't need to understand the T-chart, for example, for the midterm. You do need to know the questions on the sample questions that I cover, but I don't cover the final questions, the ones starting with Luis. So be aware of the parts you need to know and the parts that you don't need to know. If you have questions about jurisdiction, you're smart. You're paying attention. Jurisdiction is the hardest thing we do this semester, and that's why I really just introduce the concepts. I don't do a deep dive. If you really are confused, know that they make up a very small portion of the midterm. It's still mathematically possible to get an A if you get all the other questions right and you miss every single one of the jurisdictional questions. But you won't, because you'll get some, especially if you're paying attention to the true-false jurisdictional sample questions. If when you go through those sample questions you're lost and you're not sure, gosh, I don't understand why this is true, or I don't understand why this is false, come to my office hours or bring those questions to our next class on Thursday, and I'll be glad to talk in more depth about it. But again, don't feel like you're the only person who still has some confusion about jurisdiction. If you don't have confusion about jurisdiction at this point and you watched the lecture, it probably means you weren't fully paying attention, because it is really complicated. There's lots of moving pieces, and virtually no one in my experience gets it completely the first time they hear it. So don't feel like you're the only one out there that's feeling some level of uncertainty. Are there any questions then about the jurisdiction presentation, either about the lecture or about the sample jurisdictional questions? Okay, again, if you have questions, we have someone who's waiting. So I'm going to admit. So if there aren't any questions about that topic, I'm going to go to our third topic, which is, so I'm going to go back to share. So here is, I actually have not posted this yet, but very shortly after this class is over, I will be posting the quiz for Chapter 5. It is exactly the same quiz that you would have taken if we had our normal class. Obviously, it will be you entering the information on Canvas. I did not change the questions at all. I think I tweaked a couple of the words, but it is essentially identical to the same quiz. There will be 10 questions, and I'm giving you 8 minutes to do it. Most of y'all will be done in about 4 minutes in my experience in other classes where I've done these. It's not going to take you anything like 8 minutes. You will find it difficult to spend 8 minutes on it. Um, you'll see the true false questions first. There will be 4, and then there will be, I think there will be 4. I explain in the instructions how many there are. And then there will be the multiple choice questions. Each multiple choice is a single correct answer, so there's no multiples to worry about. You can't backtrack, so once you answer question 1, you need to move on to question 2. You can't change your mind and go back and alter that answer. So I wanted to alert you to that fact. I will also be releasing the chapter 6 very shortly, probably within the hour or 2. It will be in a similar format, exactly the same type of quiz that we would have taken otherwise. The chapter 6 quiz has a lot more true false than the chapter 5 quiz, but I will document what the format of the quiz is in the instructions. Just like with the midterm, until you hit the take the quiz button, your 8 minutes haven't started ticking away. So that is where we are with the quizzes. Let me open it up to see if there are any questions about the quizzes. Okay, now I'm going to pull up the syllabus. So in order for me to, or if you were on your Canvas, you would just click on the Converse Syllabus button. There's a quirk in Canvas that doesn't let us do that, so I'm going to leave this button right here and click Concourse Canvas right here. I've gotten a question from one student in a different class about would I be updating the syllabus to reflect some of the changes that are happening. At this time, I don't expect that I will. For one thing, there shouldn't be huge changes. Oh, that's not good. Let me see. We'll just look at it from here, that this is fine. There won't be huge changes to Canvas. The second, or the bigger reason why I'm not making changes is that there's a lot of a bureaucracy associated with changing syllabi. Lots of different people have to approve changes, and if I were to do that, it would get bogged down in that procedure. We have it nicely set up at the beginning of the semester, but our system isn't designed to make tweaks over the course of the semester. So I'm going to be working hard getting us back onto the syllabus time frame, but there will be a little bit of tweaking. If I get guidance from the college that they do want us to update our syllabi, I'll let you know, but at this point, I don't expect that there will be a change. Here's one thing to notice in the syllabus. Here is information about my office hours. So this is on the first page of the syllabus. Obviously, I'm not going physically to my office, but I'm keeping these same hours as my office hours. You'll click on this button if you're working from a PC or laptop. If you're calling from your iPhone, you'd be clicking on this. This is actually the same link that you use to visit my office hours. I mean, to visit class. So you already obviously came to my class, so you can use that same link to go to my office hours. I have the office hours on Tuesdays and Thursday afternoons and on Wednesdays, also by appointment. I want to flag one thing for you though, and that is that there have been a ton more meetings that faculty have to go to, and the meetings are usually during the traditional workday. And as a result, I'm not always able to go to all of my office hours. For example, I'm going to have to miss a significant amount of my office hours tomorrow morning. I'm not, in the past when I've had to miss office hours, I send out a blast email to everyone saying, hey, I'm going to miss the office hours, because it was so rare that that ever happened. But since it's happening all the time, I'm not sending around the notes so your email doesn't get blocked or blocked up with this. If you come to my office hours and I'm not there, I promise you, either I've stepped away for just a second or I'm in a meeting. It's not that I'm not taking care of going to my office hours. So then just send me an email and then we'll schedule a separate time that I will be glad to meet with you. Alternatively, you can email me before office hours letting me know you're going to come. That's not necessary, but you can. And I'll let you know then, oh, great, I'd love to see you, but unfortunately, I've got a meeting conflict, so let's schedule a different time. So it's not necessary that you send me the message, but it might be helpful for you if you were to do so. Wanted to let you know about that. And then the next thing I wanted to show is where we are on the calendar. So here we are. We've had spring break. We're finishing up chapter 6. I do not anticipate any additional supplementation other than the lectures on Canvas that I've already posted and that jurisdictional lecture. So we are done with 6 at this point. We're taking the midterm by Friday, and then what we would ordinarily have been covering this week is chapter 7. I'm going to make available the chapter 5 quiz and the chapter 6 quiz to be taken and due by this Sunday at 11:59. That those two will be coming up. The chapter 7 quiz will not be due until the following week, so we'll be a little bit behind on that. I expect next week that I will also be covering the orientation module. I like to do that face-to-face, but unfortunately it's just not going to be possible. So that will be an additional topic that we'll cover during the first week in April. So be on the lookout for that. I do not expect that there will be any more chapter 7 lectures that I post. Just be sure that you are watching the lectures since we're not going to have our class time together. So I wanted to show you kind of where we were and how I was getting us back to current. I expect after next week will be current, except we will still have the resume module to think about. So let me just open up and see if there are any additional questions. Oh, good question, Catherine. Should you take the quizzes before the midterm? That's really your choice. They are the same material that is covered on the midterm, but I'm not going to reveal the answers to those questions electronically until Tuesday of next week, which will be too late for the midterm. But what you could do if you wanted to is you could take the quizzes today or tomorrow or Thursday morning and then come to my office hours and I will show you, I will open up your quizzes and show you what you got right or what you got wrong. So that would be a smart strategy. That way you would know what those questions were and then be able to use that information perhaps to do better on the midterm. Having said that, I don't think that's a necessary thing. If that doesn't make sense for your schedule, I wouldn't worry about it either way, but you're welcome to do that if you would like. Good question. What other questions are there? Okay, well then I guess we're done for today. I will stay here until 12:25. If folks would like to ask questions, just hang around and I'll be glad to answer them for you. But we're done with our session. Thanks so much. I look forward to seeing you in office hours. Take care. I'm going to stop recording the lecture at this point.